what do you think the state of the America's public health system is now? What do you think the big problems are?
Well, we know that the number one threat is non-communicable disease. That stuff, what we call heart disease, what we call stroke, what we call diabetes, what we call obesity. But it's what I call malnutrition. Because it's clear to me that all of those things are different names for the same disease. It just, we name it by what we think the organ is that is most affected at the time. But if we really want to get to the root of it, we've got to stop looking at it that way. I don't, as a public health official, I don't look at it that way. I look at food as one of the major ingredients that will begin to reverse all of these things. Won't make them all go away, but will certainly do something that medicines and surgery, although we need medicine sometimes, and although we need surgery sometimes, but nothing will do, and nothing will begin to reverse these things as completely as food will do without any side effects. The only side effect to eating right is good health.
That's a pretty good side effect. I'd like to have that. I'd like to have that side effect all the time. So do you see nutrition, and particularly plant-based nutrition, playing a larger role in the U.S. Public health system in the years ahead? Do you see anything changing, any signs of change or progress?
Well, yes. I think that our having this meeting here in Chicago, sponsored by a medical school, Loyola Medical School, is a major step. And I think that as the science and people like Michael Greger and others who've brought this to the level of the language of the professionals has helped tremendously in moving the dial. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to grow. The big problem we have is we are exactly the same place today with food from a public health perspective as we were with tobacco 50 years ago. The tobacco industry fought us tooth and nail in saying that it didn't cause cancer, it didn't do this, it didn't do that. And we knew that those things were not true. And Kelly Brownell has written a paper that talks about how now the food industry is going to take the playbook from the tobacco industry to create their own scientists to do nothing more than help confuse the issue and raise doubt about what we're talking about. But I have faith that the American people are smarter than that because they're going to see it for themselves. And just like we were triumphant over tobacco, we will triumph with food.
That's a great attitude, Doctor. What's the level of plant acceptance by people about the benefits of plant-based nutrition now as opposed to when you first started?
Oh, it's much, much higher. And what I do is we tell people, don't take my word for it. Just try it. Try it for 10 days. You know, whether you want to call it a Daniel's fast or whatever you want to call it, just try it for 10 days and just see. And that was what we showed in the Jumpstart when we were Plant Pure Nation. We had 700 people that wanted to try it for 10 days. With so many people, we couldn't process them all at one time. We had no idea we were going to get this kind of response. So it tells me that the people are ready. It tells me that people are frustrated with what's happening and they're looking for a choice. And the great thing about doing this by drinking water, eating fruits, eating vegetables, and staying away from all those things that don't help us as much, it has no bad side effects.
So what do you what's the future of plant-based nutrition in Cook County?
I'm saying the future is very bright. And the reason it's bright is because I'm going to make it bright. I am going to make certain that I do everything in my power. I left my urologic practice because I was convinced that nothing I was doing, though helpful, was actually helping to cure anything. And I decided, I made a covenant with God that I was going to take whatever life he gave me to make sure that I did something to make a difference. So I'm all in. I'm all in individually. I'm all in to leverage whatever I can of this office and of this position to make certain that we move plant-based nutrition to the forefront as understanding that this is the key to population health. So it means that not only are we just talking about, we've got to make sure that we make the foods cheap, widely available, okay? That's what we've got to do, which means there's got to be changes in the policy. There should be no way that we should have to pay more for organically grown food in America. Should not be. If we're serious about trying to stem the tide of the diseases that we have, this is the way, in my mind, the only way to make that happen.
So what's the future of plant-based nutrition in America as a whole, do you think?
I think if America wants to live, I think if America wants to thrive, I think if America wants to do the best for its current and future generations, I think if America wants to release itself from the grip of this industry, this $2.25 trillion industry that sole purpose is managing disease. What we've got to do, what I am going to do, is use where I am to, first of all, take control of the definitions. So right now, the problem is we can't fight this using the definitions of the way they describe this. We've got to use our own terms, our own way of describing it. So I don't talk about, I say, look, if you've got heart disease or so-called heart disease, that's not heart disease. I say, a heart attack has nothing to do with the heart. Or they say, what does that have to do? Well, it has to do with the blood vessels. They say it has to do with the blood vessels that feed the heart. But that's not true either. It's because of the blood vessels that get blocked. Well, how do they get blocked? They get blocked by stuff that shouldn't be there. Well, how did they get there? It got there by the blood. But is there something wrong with the blood? No, it's something that we ate that got it in the blood that caused this whole thing. And what were those things? The things that we've been talking about, those non-plant-based foods that we've been eating are what is the core of our problem. We don't need a bunch of different solutions because we don't have a bunch of different problems. We got one basic problem and we got one basic solution. And that's where plant-based nutrition comes in.